Welcome to Silverstone for the third and final race of the weekend in the 2017 Radical Challenge Championship. We've had blisteringly hot conditions all weekend. We've had 2 race wins for Bradley Smith, and let's see what he might be able to do from what will be pole position in this third race of the weekend. Alongside him is Danny Keeley. Row 2 of the good is Oliver Barker and Jack Lang, with the reigning champion Steve Burgess alongside the Beijing driver Stuart Maloney on row 3, Jack Manchester and Dominic Jackson on row 4, and Richard Baxter and Tom and Brian Harvey line up there as the leading team challenge car in qualifying on what is row number 5. A huge grid of cars yet again about to be let loose around what is the 3.660 mile Grand Prix circuit here at Silverstone. A rolling start once more, with pit stops as well this time through, and of course some of the cars carrying pit stop success seconds as well. The likes of the cars on the second row of the grid, Jack Lang and Oliver Barker, have 15 and 5 seconds respectively. Lights are on, the cars head over the start-finish line. It's a good start from pole position for what is Bradley Smith as he charges his way up towards Copse Corner for the first time. Danny Keeley trying to close the door to try and prevent anybody squeezing through up the inside. They're all safely through Copse Corner and charging their way down the short straight that brings them up towards Maggots and Beckett. It is going to be Bradley Smith that leads. It's Danny Keeley in second place, Oliver Barker in third place. The orange car's Jack Lang, who sits there in fourth place. Jack, the championship leader, coming in to this weekend. Stuart Maloney's there in fifth position, and in sixth place it looks as though it's Dominic Jackson in sixth position, as they're all safely through Beckett's and out of Chapel Curve, charging their way down the Hanger Straight for the first time, with the front two just getting away, and Oliver Barker in third position, the blue car with the white nose, having to defend from Jack Lang, the orange machine. Couldn't quite squeeze his way through Jack Lang, so the top 4 remain as they were, still with Stuart Maloney there in fifth position. Safely through what is Stowe Corner and down in towards the Vale, somebody running very wide, and now Dominic Jackson nips up the inside of Stuart Maloney, tries to outbrake Jack Lang as well. They're side by side through the Vale, and as they now head up towards Club Corner, place gained by the number 4 car, and now Stuart Maloney needs to try and close the door on Steve Burgess, wheel to wheel, running wide, going past them also is Jack Manchester. Fantastic fight going on for what is at this stage 5th, 6th, 7th, and you could argue 8th places as they head in front of the wing and up towards what is Abbey for the first time. Sweeping the way through Abbey will bring them up towards Farm, then they're heavily onto the brakes towards Village Corner for the first time. Beijing driver Stuart Maloney, who started 6th on the grid, he's at the wheel of the black, white and red car that sits right behind the all-black machine of Dominic Jackson. He's very much the cork in the bottle at this stage. He's got the reigning champion right behind him. He's got that light blue car Jack Manchester not that far away as they stream their way along the Wellington Straight. Here they come, Dominic Jackson at the front of that little quartet of cars, or train of cars, turn their way in towards Brooklands, and Dominic Jackson might get his pocket picked here. Stuart Maloney goes side by side with him on the way in towards Luffield Corner, cuts back midway through the corner, and they're going to be side by side on the way out, but importantly Stuart Maloney has the inside line as they head up towards what will be the final corner on the straight, that being Woodcote. Over the start finish line comes our race leader. Bradley Smith leads, Danny Keeley in second place, Oliver Barker in third, Jack Lang in fourth place, but still side by side for 5th and 6th position. It's Dominic Jackson who sweeps his way back round the outside of Stuart Maloney. Fantastic stuff, running very wide indeed goes Steve Burgess through Copse Corner. He's tried to mount an assault on Stuart Maloney, who was looking to attack and is having to defend and has actually lost another place. Yeah, the reigning champion goes through at the wheel of the blue and yellow machine. So Stuart Maloney, having lost a couple of places now, he's now outside of the top 6 and has got the light blue car of Jack Manchester queuing up to try and demote him a further place. So here they come onto the Hanger Straight. You can see that it is very close indeed still between the black, white and red car of Stuart Maloney. The light blue car of Jack Manchester not that far behind. Queuing up behind them is the number 64 car. That leads the team category at this stage. That's the car that's shared between father and son pairing, Brian and Tom Harvey. Safely through Stowe Corner, down in towards the Vale. Jack Manchester's got the inside line on Stuart Maloney this time through, and it looks as though there's going to be another place lost for the man from the Caribbean. Yep, down another place he goes. And let's see whether now he can hang on to what will be, I think that's 8th position he's in now. He's got the Harvey's car, number 64, right behind him. Then it's Richard Baxter at the wheel of the second of the 2 light blue cars, but the one with the pink flashes. He sits there down towards the bottom of the top 10 as they all flash their way back through Abbey yet again. Still some great fights going on all the way down through the order. Lock breaks from Steve Burgess, the reigning champion. Here is now Stuart Maloney, who again is the cork in the bottle really. He's had a busy old race as Stuart. Unfortunately for him, all the places are going the wrong way. He's had his pocket picked on a couple of occasions. He's still got cars looking to try and take places away as they feed their way out of Aintree Corner. There is the Irishman, that's number 18, Sean Byrne, former Caterham racer, raced in the British GT Championship last year. He's looking to try and get himself onto the coattails of the light blue and pink car of Richard Baxter ahead, as, by the look of things, just running wide there, missing the apex at Brooklands corner, was the Harvey's car. Tom and Brian Harvey sharing that number 64 car. Well, they missed the braking point at the end of the Wellington straight, and that's dropped them right away from what was the gearbox of Stuart Maloney's car, and very much now into the clutches of the blue and pink machine in the hands of Richard Baxter, a graduate out of the Radical SR1 Cup. Cars flash their way along the start-finish straight. The order towards the sharp end still remaining the same. There it goes, the Harvey's number 64 car with Richard Baxter sitting right behind it, running very wide indeed is the Team Challenge leading car, and that might allow Richard Baxter to squeeze his way through. Has he been able to go through? We'll look into the distance. No, not quite by the look of things. It's continuing as they thread their way through Beckett's corner. That's Steve Burgess raising the dust at Chapel Curve. It looks as though he bounced the car over the grass. Here is our race leader, so it is still the same. Bradley Smith leads, Danny Keeley in second place, the blue car's Oliver Barker in third, the orange car is Jack Lang in fourth position, so the top four still remain exactly as they were as they thread their way through Stowe Corner once more. Steve Burgess coming under pressure though from Jack Manchester. That subtle mistake as the car bounced over the curves at Chapel might cost him here. They're side by side in towards the Vale, and yet Steve Burgess sees him coming, tries to cut back on the exit of the corner, has a bit more momentum coming out of Club, and having lost the place briefly, a matter of a few metres later, he's regained it. Great driving from the champion there. Over the Grand Prix start-finish line now go, which means as we are starting from the national pit straight, they're only halfway round through the lap. They thread their way through Abbey, through Farm. Look at the fight that's going on further down through the order. What's that? 6 cars all fighting away for places down towards the bottom and just outside of the top 10, being headed by the number 64 car of the Harveys. Then it's Richard Baxter, then it's the Irishman Sean Byrne, and then behind them having a quick nibble, I have a feeling that might be the number 86 car possibly, that was Mark Maloney. Further down through the order, there's Christian Jeffrey, another driver from the Caribbean. We've got, 3 representatives of the Caribbean on the grid at Silverstone this weekend, as the race leaders sweep their way through Brooklands. Now it looks as though the gap between second and third is closing up here. Danny Keeley coming under ever more pressure from Oliver Barker as they safely now head up towards the conclusion of another lap at Woodcote Corner. So here comes our race leader. Without question, car number 21, Bradley Smith, leads. The good thing for Bradley is he has no success seconds come the pits. Neither does Danny Keeley in second place, but that car there, Oliver Barker, has an extra 15 seconds to spend in the pits following his exploits at the last time out at Spa-Francorchamps in Belgium. So he really needs to be getting on and trying to work his way through the order if he can, because he knows he's going to have to remain stationary for the minimum period, plus an additional 15 seconds thereafter at the wheel of car number 22. So once more out of Chapel Curve, the orange car in fourth place, Jack Lang, just dropping further away. He's got an extra 5 seconds to spend with the pits. The black car in fifth place, Dominic Jackson, has an extra 10 seconds to spend in the pits come the pit stop window, as they all now are at the top part of the circuit round through Stowe Corner, and the circuit starts to drop away on the exit of the corner, downhill in towards the braking area for the Vale, where they flick left, they then flick right and head up towards Club Corner. And you can see that Oliver Barker, who was mounting a challenge for second, has sort of dropped away again a shade more now. Now whether that's Oliver Barker losing time, through the gravel trap goes car number 19. That's the car that Aaron Bowman-Smith shares with Gary Patterson. Number 19 car, now with no doubt all grass in its radiator ducts, will rejoin the circuit, but time and potentially places lost there. Locked brakes, and that is number 52, Mark Richards, who's now had his pocket picked. Through goes what is Tony and James Barwell's car, another car that runs in the team class, and now Mark Richards finds himself under pressure from the number 20 machine in the hands of Mark Crader, going well. Almost side by side they will be as they head up towards Abbey, but Mark Crader can't quite squeeze his way through. No, has to settle back in again outside of the top 10. They're in mid-teens, down towards the bottom of the top 15 almost, as they continually squabble away. Mark Crader's going to have another go, is he though? Now heading in towards what is Village Corner, can't quite make it stick. The car that's behind those is the red car with its yellow and white flashes. That's the man from the northeast, which is Brian Murphy. So another good little fight that's going on much further down through the order. They're going to be down outside of almost the top 20, these 3 cars, but great fights still going on. Mark Richards really having to stick his elbows out at the wheel of the number 52 car to try and keep right behind him Mark Crader, and for the moment Mark Crader can't quite, despite scratching his head and having a couple of goes at it, can't quite work out where he's got the advantage to try and squeeze his way through. So the front runners over the start finish line, up towards us in a few moments will come that great little fight that we've got going on. It is still car number 52, which is Mark Richards hanging on to the place. Mark Crader having to sit back behind as they thread their way through Copse Corner. Brian Murphy in the red car not that far away, poised and ready to pounce should needs be, as they then start to turn their way up towards Beckett's once more. So there goes Mark Richards, there goes Mark Crader, and now under pressure from number 57 Brian Murphy. So his attack has all of a sudden started to turn towards defence by the look of things, as Brian Murphy in the red car with its yellow and white closes in. Here is the battle for second and third again. There's a third place car, number 22 Oliver Barker, fresh out of the Radical SR1 Championship from last year, who has been going very well over the course of this year. Oliver Barker claimed one win last time out at Spa-Francorchamps, and so far this weekend has posted a couple of third places. I'd really like to try and go one better if he can in this one, but at the moment he's got work to do. Still Mark Crader under pressure from Brian Murphy as they thread their way up towards the conclusion of another lap, and this time through it looks like Brian Murphy has got the inside line as they head over what is the start-finish line for the Grand Prix circuit. Can't quite manage to work his way through, and look behind them now as double waved yellows are out there by the look of things, whilst we've got a car retiring off to the left-hand side. Closing in on them is the number 80 car, which Peter Tyler shares with Tom Gladys, so keep an eye towards that blackened Dayglow car that sits just behind this pair at this stage, because all of their squabbling has A, allowed number 52 Mark Richards to pull away ever more, and B, it's held them up and allowed the number 80 machine to begin to close in. So on to the Wellington straight they'll go. Peter Tyler and Tom Gladys, who've shared this number 80 car throughout the whole course of the season, looking to try and mount a challenge to get themselves right up onto terms with the red car of Brian Murphy that lay ahead. But Brian Murphy, equally as much, is very much focused on trying to attack the car that lies ahead of him, number 20, that being Mark Crader, all of the time, whilst the car that's ahead of Mark Crader, number 52, Mark Richards, is pulling away. So over the start-finish line go the race leaders. Here comes number 44. This is Tony and James Barwell's car. There now goes Mark Richards. You can see the gap he's built up between himself and Mark Crader. Here is Steve Burgess, the reigning champion. He's currently in 6th position. He's got Jack Manchester sitting right behind him. Jack's best finish of the season so far came at Donington Park, where he was 4th at the first race meeting of the year. Well, at the moment he's outside of the top 6 places. Points go well down towards the cars, down towards the mid-teens in this championship, so he's still in a good point-scoring place, but ideally he wants to try and pick the pocket of the reigning champion as he threads his way through what is Abbey Corner and through Farm and then in towards a braking area for Village. So through the tight right-hander at Village, the even tighter left-hander at the loop. The blue car with the yellow flashes, Steve Burgess under pressure. He's got an extra 20 seconds to spend in the pits, Steve Burgess, come the pit stop window, whereas for the car behind, Jack Manchester, he is on scratch in reality. No additional success seconds for him to worry about as they charge their way down the Wellington straight. Jack Manchester again not close enough as they head up towards Brooklands. Doesn't stop him showing the nose of the car to Steve Burgess. Steve Burgess can't quite manage to grab the apex of the corner. That therefore puts the reigning champion under a little bit more pressure now as they head through Luffield. Over the start-finish line in a few moments once they've safely negotiated Woodcote to conclude one further lap. It won't be that much longer before the pit window opens. Here's our 4th place car, the orange car Jack Lang. Here's 5th, which is number 4, Dominic Jackson, former Formula BMW racer out in Germany a few years ago. Was teammate to Sebastian Vettel as well, I believe. And now here comes what is this 6th and 7th place battle. Steve Burgess under pressure from Jack Manchester. The two of them not really losing a great deal of ground to Dominic Jackson either, the all-black car that lie ahead. As we look further down through the order, and we've still got some great little fights going on. That looks as though it is Brian Caldwell fighting away. 3 cars as one through Copse Corner, who are now charging their way up towards Beckett's, whilst up towards Stowe Corner comes the car that's in 4th position. That's Jack Lang, so number 2 Jack Lang sitting there in 4th place. Here's the 2nd and 3rd place pairing, still not too far away either. The red car with its yellow flashes, Danny Kearley, cannot shake away the attentions of Oliver Barker, who's gone very well in his debut season in the Radical Challenge Championship, as those 2 cars are still, within 4 or 5 seconds of the race leader, Bradley Smith, who at the moment everything's largely going to plan. So here comes Bradley Smith. Here is now the squabble for 2nd and 3rd place. Danny Kearley in the red car. The blue car is Oliver Barker in 3rd place. 4th place is number 2 Jack Lang. You can see the relative gaps of them all. 5th place is Dominic Jackson, who's got Steve Burgess and Jack Manchester not too far away, but they're still busy locking horns over what is 6th and 7th places currently as they dive onto the brakes and flick the car in towards the left-hander at the loop once more. From then it's hard on the power, up through the gears, up to the maximum speed that these Suzuki engines will propel these Radical SR3s, which is just short of 150 miles per hour. On the Wellington Straight they will go. So through Luffield, the 2nd and 3rd place battle works its way, and this time the pit window should be open, I think, very shortly, so we might start to see cars diving for the pit lane. No such dive for the pit lane as yet for Bradley Smith, our race leader. He continues to lead. Still Danny Keeley in 2nd place, the red car. Oliver Barker in 3rd position, turns his way through Copse Corner, looking to try and close what is a very small deficit between himself and Danny Keeley ahead, as they then safely flick the cars through Beckett's Corner. And well, for Bradley Smith, so far this weekend has gone perfectly to plan. 2 races, 2 race victories, and at the moment he is leading the longer pit stop race, and of course has no additional success seconds to spend in the pit, so it really does play beautifully well into his hands with all of the hard work that the former Sunoco Challenge winner has done over the course of this weekend. He leads, red car, Danny Keeley 2nd, turning his way through Stowe Corner, still with Oliver Barker within touching distance. Any mistake at all, a missed gear, a locked brake, running wide, is going to allow Oliver Barker an opportunity to try and steal 2nd place away from Danny Keeley. But at the moment there appears to be not a chink in the armour. There's no chink in the armour for this man either, who is Bradley Smith. You can see drivers now getting suited and booted. That is Joe Watt, who is ready to take over in the pit lane. So Adrian Watt, car number 55 that started 30th on the grid, is working its way up through the order at this stage. The driver's ready in the pit lane. Richard Baxter, by the look of things, is coming under pressure from what is Brian Cordwell here. So the blue and pink car, number 88, Richard Baxter, coming under pressure from Brian Cordwell. Another graduate out of, in fact, both of them graduates out of the Radical SR1 Championship. That's where Brian started his career. Richard moved over from SR1s to the Radical Challenge Championship this year. And the 2 of them very, very busy. So the pit window is now open. You can see just how busy it is in the pit lane. It's going to become ever busier soon because drivers will be heading for the pit lane potentially. It's quite a short pit stop window, so everybody largely comes in within a couple of laps of each other. And we are now at the half distance point almost of this race. So who's going to be the first to head in to the pit lane? It looks like Danny Keeley dives for the pit lane. So into the pit lane comes Danny Keeley. We've also got, by the look of things, that is Gary Patterson. There through in the back of the shot goes Bradley Smith. So Bradley Smith has come in. There is Danny Keeley in the back of the shot going through. The number 19 car, Aaron Bowman Smith and Gary Patterson, we saw it. Waiting patiently in the pit lane for the clock to tick away is Danny Keeley, which means that Oliver Barker, now number 22, leads. And this car here, Steve Burgess, is in 2nd. More cars heading for the pit lane. Number 64, Tom and Brian Harvey, who'll be hoping for good things in the Team Challenge, head into the pit lane. Out of the pit lane goes number 31. That is Ron Goodman. We've got another car within the Team Challenge into the pit lane. That is the Baileys. Aaron and Lee Bailey are swapping over the number 11 car. More drivers waiting. Spencer Bourne leaves the pit lane by the look of things. Number 21, Bradley Smith, also now leaves the pit lane. He, of course, was the race leader. Into the pits comes Brian Cordwell. Also, Christian Jeffrey comes into the pit lane, so you can see just how busy things get in the Silverstone pit lane. Number 44, Tony and James Barwell, also in the process of swapping over. Back out of the pit lane comes number 4, Dominic Jackson. So it's all rather busy. It will take a while just for the order to settle down. Elliot Goodman concludes his pit stop and is waved away. Well, with all of the pit stops now having been concluded, this is the battle for 8th, 9th, 10th and 11th position. Elliot Goodman fighting away with the blue car of Richard Baxter. The reigning champion Steve Burgess now down to 10th position because he had an extra 20 success seconds to spend in the pit lane following his exploits and success at Spa-Francorchamps. And not that far away from him is the second of the 2 light blue cars, that being Jack Manchester. So this is 8th, 9th, 10th and 11th. Here comes number 4 car of Dominic Jackson. He will at this stage be in 3rd position in the race with Jack Lang sitting right behind him. So Dominic Jackson had an extra 5 seconds to spend in the pits. The reason that Jack Lang is behind him is because Jack had an extra 10 seconds to spend in the pits following their finishes at Spa-Francorchamps. This car continues to lead, so with no success seconds to worry about, Bradley Smith continues to lead the race at this stage and is now looking very good value potentially for a clean sweep of victories here at Silverstone for what is round 7, 8 and 9 that we've got over the course of this weekend. Round 9 taking place now And elsewhere down through the order, it looks as though they're still all together. Mark Richards, Mark Crader and Brian Murphy were all together before the pit stops, are all still pretty much inseparable. The car that's at the front of that little train is going to be the number 64 car of Brian and Tom Harvey. So it's a quartet with the black and Dayglow car of Tom Gladys not too far away. Here comes that fight for 8th through to 11th position. Jack Manchester pushing hard to try and find a chink in the armour of the reigning champion. In fact, from being a quartet, they've almost paired off now, haven't they? Elliot Goodman fighting away with the blue and pink car of Richard Baxter. Then a gap before we see the reigning champion Steve Burgess having to roll his sleeves up and slug it out with Jack Manchester. So safely through Luffield Corner, they'll thread their way back over the start-finish line once more, once they've safely negotiated the flat-out right-hander at Woodcote. As the red arrows fly ahead here at Silverstone as part of the MG Live meeting. Fantastic sight as the Reds come over, and a fantastic sight as we still see squabbles going on through the pack. There's Brian Caldwell. The yellow and green car is Christian Jeffries. That's 6th and 7th respectively. And here's 8th, 9th, 10th and 11th place, with 10th place being Steve Burgess, and 11th is that car there, number 15, Jack Manchester, looking to try and unlock the door to a top 10 finish if he can, but looks as though they've certainly paired off ever more now. Elliot Goodman in 8th place, the blue and pink car Richard Baxter in 9th, the reigning champion Steve Burgess in 10th, and Jack Manchester sitting there in 11th place as they squeeze their way through Beckett's once more. We've got a spin here. That's a number 19 car of Gary Patterson, but scything through the centre of shot is the car of Jack Lang, who was running in 4th position. Radiator ducts will be full of grass on a very hot day. That's the last thing that you need in reality. He'd got enough of a gap between himself and Stuart Maloney so as to not to worry. I don't think he'll have lost a place. Squabbles continuing out on track as we look down towards what is car number 64 at this stage. This is Tom and Brian Harvey's car fighting away with what is Tom Gladys. This will be for the lead of the team challenge, where two drivers share the car throughout the course of the weekend. The number 64 car by its fingertips clinging on to the lead of the class, but coming under an ever-increasing amount of pressure by the look of things from the black and Dayglow car of Tom Gladys, who's sitting firmly in the slipstream this time as they head up the Hanger Straight. Tom Gladys jinks out. He's got the inside line as they head up towards Stowe Corner and goes through to take up the lead of the team challenge. Good driving by Tom Gladys. Good driving by what was Peter Tyler in the first part of the race, and they are now leading the team challenge element and on for maximum championship points. Here's another spin, and this is Barry Liversidge, number 6, going off. That is at Beckett's Corner where he's had a spin. No harm done. Barry should be able to continue, but that will drop him a long way down through the order, outside of the top 20 now. Here is this fight going on still, and now it looks as though 9th and 10th is being disputed. Richard Baxter has been caught by the reigning champion Steve Burgess, who's looking to try and squeeze his way through. Is he going to be able to do anything about it? Up at Brooklands Corner, he charges his way up the inside of Richard Baxter, who leaves the door open but then has a spin, goes in too quickly, and from looking to gain a place, he's lost one. Jack Manchester has gone through, so it didn't quite work for the man from Nottingham, the reigning champion Steve Burgess. He was so late on the brakes, and the rear end just lost adhesion, and that drops him now down outside of the top 10 with more work to do. So here they come back over the start-finish line. It is Elliot Goodman, Richard Baxter, then Jack Manchester. Richard Baxter, though, is needing to be careful because he's already been forewarned a couple of times with regards to track limits, and just needs to make sure he stays within the confines of the circuit, or otherwise time penalties will get issued. So here comes Richard Baxter now. Jack Manchester in the second of the two light blue cars right with him. And as they thread their way onto the Hanger Straight, our race leader is turning his way through what is Village and up towards the loop. So through the left-hander at the loop, Bradley Smith already twice a race winner so far this weekend, looking good to try and make it a clean sweep of victories and a hat-trick. Richard Baxter still under pressure from Jack Manchester for the last couple of places inside the top 10, 9th and 10th respectively, as they thread their way out of Club Corner and onto the International Pit Straight. Nose to tail up towards Abbey. It is still just the number 88 car that's able to hang on to the position. It's just allowing Elliot Goodman to pull away a shade as these two start to squabble. So Richard Baxter through Village Corner, then up towards the loop. Jack Manchester, is he going to have a look at the loop? No, he's not. He takes a wider line in, might try and get up the inside as they head onto Aintree Corner, but opts to sit behind Richard Baxter. So still good fights between this pair. Jack Manchester, who raced very well in the championship last year. Richard Baxter new to the Radical Challenge for this year, and new to the Radical SR3, having raced the SR1 a season or so ago, and is now turning his way through Brooklands Corner. Still locked together they are, pretty much inseparable, and have been for the vast majority of the race in reality. Out of Luffield and up towards Woodcote Corner. Flat out through the right-hander there will go. As further down through the order, we've still got number 52 Mark Richards and Mark Crader fighting away. They have been embroiled in the most fantastic battle that we've had throughout the course of this race. There's never been a great deal more than a couple of car lengths between the pair of them, but the order has always largely been the number 52 car ahead of the number 20 car, i.e. Mark Richards ahead of Mark Crader. But with time running out, Mike Crader here is going to throw it up the insiders as they head up towards Abbey Corner, and he goes through. Mark Crader has been hugely patient waiting for that opportunity, and now he has finally been able to pick the pocket of Mark Richards. And Mark Richards, now having lost one place, is going to have to be careful here, because right behind him is the number 57 car of Brian Murphy, and not that far behind them is Konstantin Kugiev at the wheel of the all-white number 9 machine. So there goes Konstantin, looking to try and mount a challenge to try and gain places if he can. So here they come, up towards the braking area for Brooklands Corner. Mark Richards under pressure from Brian Murphy, who shows the nose of the car to Mark Richards, but Mark Richards is able to sweep his way in towards the left-hander and gain the place. And now Brian Murphy might have to just watch his mirrors a little bit, because Konstantin Gukiev is not too far away at the wheel of the all-white number 9 machine, sitting directly behind. These cars here are going to be fighting for places in the mid-teens, as on the last lap now comes Bradley Smith in towards the braking area for the left-hander at Brooklands, the former Sudoku Challenge winner, who missed out from racing at Spa-Francorchamps last time through, is on course to grab another victory. It will be his 3rd victory of the weekend, making it his 5th victory of the 2017 Radical Challenge Championship. Bradley Smith comes over the start-finish line and claims honours in the 3rd and final race here on a very hot weekend at Silverstone. He will be as pleased as punch with that. 2nd position will go the way of Oliver Barker by the look of things. There's still other battles that need sorting out in the final few corners as well, heading up towards the checker flag, not least of which will be 7th and 8th place. Number 28, Elliot Goodman, looks to have fended away the aspirations of the charging car of Jack Manchester. So Elliot Goodman will finish in 7th place, Jack Manchester will finish in 8th place. Also number 61, Christian Jeffrey, one of our visitors from the Caribbean. He's had a solid weekend. He will come through and finish in 6th position, despite having been given a 5-second penalty for transgressing the circuit limits. So as the rest of the field file their way through over the start-finish line, what has been a very warm weekend here at Silverstone. Confirmation of the results for race 3. It's a win for Bradley Smith, his 5th of the season. 2nd is Oliver Barker, and 3rd is Dominic Jackson. Jack Lang was 4th, ahead of Stuart Maloney in 5th place, and Christian Jeffrey in 6th. And the top 10 were completed by Elliot Goodman, Jack Manchester, Martin Verity, and the champion Steve Burgess. So as the cars and their drivers return to the Parc Ferme area here at Silverstone, some very warm-looking drivers reflect on what's been a great weekend. Let's hear from the winner.
3 out of 3, great day out.
Exactly, it couldn't be much more of a perfect weekend. The team have just done a fantastic job. They've given me a great car, and it's just been just been a brilliant weekend. In that longer race, you really have to sort of manage your tyres, and I think the team gave me a car that I was able to do that with.
I knew it was important to get a good start. I got stuck behind Jack in the first 2 races, and it really compromised me for the weekend, and I knew that in the final race I needed to get past him on the start. We made a great start and managed to get past him, and at that point I knew I needed to pull a gap. We had an extra 5 seconds in our pit stop over him, which I knew I needed to gain on him, and so I knew it was important to get the lap times. I was watching the delta times all the time, and I knew they were going down, so I knew we were going in the right direction. We did the pit stop, we came out, and I didn't know where we were. I got the call over the radio that we were ahead, P2, and then it was a matter of just hammering in the laps, getting the lap times down, and getting to the checkered flag.
It was all about consistency, really. Got a very good start, good first couple of laps, and then just bedded in. The pace had dropped off versus the first 2 races, so the times were worryingly slow, but I think that was the same for everybody. It was just about consistency and working my way through.
Superb day for viewing, beautiful cars out there, but from a driver's perspective, that 40 minutes, a lot of endurance you need there.
Yeah, it's a long race. When the first 2 races, it gets to lap 8, 9, 10, you're praying the checkered flag will come out, and obviously it was double that, so it was pretty hard.
Well, that's all from Silverstone. Next time out will be at Rockingham before we then head to Snetterton in Norfolk.